Hi, my name is Hannah from Reality Awareness. You probably know me by now. If not, now you do. This particular live stream, I've been released from the dungeons of ancient Greece, is quite a big, deep, interesting piece. So you might want to grab a cup of tea, glass of wine, coffee, whatever your fancy is. Listen, multitasking. This particular live stream is a personal share. It is a story. It is an understanding of the depth of me living what I teach in Trust and Intuition. I live and breathe this work. This is my duty. This is my responsibility. This is my absolute purpose. I have two unique life purpose paths here on earth in this lifetime. I have a double mission. It is to share the journey of my life, and it is to teach what I've learnt from that. So this particular video live stream is big. I've been released from the dungeons of ancient Greece. This is huge. This may end up being a 2 or 3 part series. It depends what parts I'm guided to share in this video and what parts that I need to give you backstory on, etc. So as I said, grab a coffee, grab a tea, grab a something. This is a deep journey. This is me living what I teach and preach. Okay. I'm a little bit nervous to share it just for the fact that it's really quite big. So I'm going to share this live stream and then I'll be present with commencing this journey. Hello. If this is your first time to my live stream here at Reality Awareness, please let me know, because this is a bit of a this is a deep journey, what I'm about to share. So if this is your very first time, it might not make sense. I am going to reference things from my past in my journey that you may need to, I'll give reference to other pieces because yeah, it's quite big. Okay, first timer. Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to share this as I'm talking. As I would always say to when I taught light field yoga classes, I would say to people, if this is your first time, sorry, join me live now. If this is your first time to my light field yoga class and you don't like my light field yoga class, if this is your first time to yoga ever and you don't like my class, don't get put off by yoga. Go and find a teacher that you resonate with. Go to 10 classes and find a teacher, because the teacher will always be teaching slightly different. Okay. All right, just gonna share this here. Okay, let me share and then I'm going to just concentrate on sharing this. Don't get distracted. Hang on a second. Okay, that one's done. Okay, we've got another place to share this. Okay. Ah, the birds. Can you feel the peace? Okay, I think that's working. Okay, sweet, I did it. All right. Now I can be present, sharing this with you. Just going to bring up the comments so I can see, bring up the video so I can see your comments. Okay, so as I said, if this is your first time, let me know. Let me know where you're tuning in from around the world as well. If there's anyone here from Greece. Okay, so I don't actually know where I'm going to begin with this, but I am going to share a slight little backstory, because this is like my everyday life. This is normal for me. This is everything that I do. And in this piece, like, I've been released from the dungeons of ancient Greece. It blew my mind. So many of you have witnessed my journey over the years. You've been here from day dot when I've been online and seen me grow and evolve. Some of you are brand new here, so as I said, some of this might not make sense, but I will reference pieces, slight little backstory. I have done other live streams at different places around the past for, you know, the full in-depth pieces. If you've got any questions along the way, just let me know. And yeah. So, okay, I don't know where to start. Okay, so I'm going to start with, like, currently I'm on this land, been here for 4 years now. It's just gone 4 years. And interesting, actually, that's interesting. It's just gone 4 years. So I moved out here in 2020. I'm on 250 acres out in the Noosa hinterland, and been here just gone 4 years, as I said. And so in December 2021, I was, this stuff, what I'm sharing is pretty dark. Like I in the throat chakra consciousness, right? In trust intuition, in the advanced trainings is the throat chakra consciousness. So there's a training on each of the chakras in depth. And in the throat chakra consciousness, as we know, throat chakra is all about living your truth, speaking your truth, like, you know, but it's being in truth. It's not just speaking your truth, it's living it. Like, do you live it? Like, full body down. I teach the chakras coming down, not up. And in here is also your shadows, right? It's the shadows, it's the darkness, it's demons, it's entities. Now I've filmed crown, third eye, halfway through ears, and I'm halfway through throat. And for those of you who might remember, I think it was October 2021, October? It was October. Travis Scott did like a concert, and a lot of people died, and there was all this stuff going around. I didn't even know who Travis Scott was. It was just coming up on my feed, and I was like, what is this? And the clips and stuff that I saw were so dark, and I was like, whoa, what is that? And it really affected me. You know, I don't really pay attention to things, but I pay attention to things that I get shown, that I need to get shown, that I need to teach about, talk about, whatever. And anyway, after a couple of days of processing, putting all the pieces of the puzzle together as I do, I did a live stream on it, and that live stream went slightly viral, got like nearly 300,000 views on Facebook, and a lot of people were like, oh, thank you, I felt that too, you made sense of what I was feeling, you made me understand it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was October 2021. Fast forward to December 2021, and I got mauled by 2 American staffies, as most of you know, and just out here in the paddock. And I almost died that day. I was in hospital for 5 days, and the recovery and trauma period was insane, right? It's like years later, I was still dealing with it. So it was probably like the first 9 months was heavy recovery. The next, like the 18 months was just like, it was really, it really affected me. It changed me. I'm a person who can do anything. Like, I'm strong. I do everything, all the pieces, right? And it really, really affected me. Now, in trust intuition, a big part of that is releasing and removing trauma from this life, from past lives, from psychic, you know, imprints, to heal trauma, but to become more psychic, to be a clearer vessel so that you can uncover your unique purpose that's not on the planet yet, that's not a purpose made of generational or societal imprinting. It's your unique soul's life purpose. And when we are clouded with trauma, we can't hear our intuition. We're psychically blocked, okay? And that's why a lot of people have health issues or whatever, because they've got all these imprints of trauma wounds. And I know trauma sounds like, oh, some big dramatic event, but a trauma wound can be as simple as when you're a toddler and your mum is putting your sibling in the car around the other side and walks around the other side, and you're this little kid, like this little toddler who's like looks up and all of a sudden mum's gone, and you're like, where's mum gone? Like that's a trauma imprint, and that can affect us for our entire life. And we grow up with this and we have a lens of the world with that. So anyway, this is what I teach in Trust Intuition, and as always, I live through what I teach and whatever. Okay, so so the dog attack happened back then in December 2021, blah, blah, blah. And then just like, so it's like 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And at the start of this year, sort of like February, March, like these eclipses, that eclipse that, you know, whenever it was, March or whatever, some of you might remember I ran Unhook Me. And it was like, right, unhooking from like past toxic relationships, things that have been holding you back. Like it was a big process. It was like a 3-day workshop, and then there was the eclipse, the new moon eclipse. So we held that then. That really started unraveling things for me. Like everything that I teach, I'm going through and all the things. So, and it's really weird because like waking up now, I feel like I've been in a blip. I'm like, where have I been? Like it's really weird. And I felt at that time, and I remembered because the dog attack trauma, like, you know, I was dealing with it. I'm a healer. I, you know, do the work, of course, but it was really big. And I guess I could only do so much on my own, right? And it got to a point where I was just like, wow, Hannah, like you just need to like bury this for now so that you can like get on with work and get off this land. Like, you know, because those of you who followed my story for all these years have known, especially when I first moved out here, I was like trying to move, trying to get off the land, trying to leave, trying to get a new rental, trying to move, like all the things. I was just getting blocked. And a lot of you know and have seen even like it's changed me being out here, not even just the dog attack. Like it's a different lifestyle, it's whatever, it's the abyss. Sure, I asked for it. I asked for a place just out of town. I asked for a place that was quiet so I could do my recording. Like everything I asked for, I literally was granted. I didn't know that a change of lifestyle out of civilization, out of convenience, away from my resource, the beach, would affect me that much. But at the same time, it's been this 4-year initiation process to really look at myself and look at who I am and do the inner work that living in civilization distracts us from. And I know that deep to my core that I needed this initiation process. And a lot of you know that I've always been talking about, you know, I'm in an initiation, I don't know what for, I'm in an initiation, like, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm in an initiation. I just thought it was like for my work. And I'm like, technically kind of is for my work. But anyway, so, you know, doing the work, facing whatever, because every time I tried to leave, and for a long time I would say like the land won't let me leave, like, you know, in the connection with the trees, and like my psychic abilities have gone through the roof being out here, like just, you know, like we're literally 45 minutes to an hour away from civilization, and the out of that collective consciousness bubble is very distinct. It is so distinct in so many ways. And so like when I used to live in civilization, I would feel when everyone's waking up, getting ready for work, going to work, coming home from work, picking the kids up from school, like it was just like you're just in the collective consciousness. And because I work at home, I would just feel it, right? It's such a distinct feeling. So being out here, disconnected from all of that civilization, and what I've been attuning to and what I'm really attuned to is nature. And it's quite, a lot of the time some of you might have heard me say, I feel like I've been losing my mind out here, because it's just, you know, like things that happen, you just, you know, unless you live on the land by yourself in isolation with nature, you know, the people you know when you know, okay? Those who know. Anyway, my psychic ability's gone through the roof. Okay, so the dog attack then happened, and at that time, I also made a real quite distinct decision about it a month out after it happened. And I've been living away from family for 20 years. So I live on the east coast of Australia. My family's on the west coast of Australia, most of it. And it was like, I was like, how have I lived away from family, like no birthdays, no family get-togethers, no, you know, like just calling you for a cup of tea or dinners, like, you know, just like for 20 years, I was like, who does that even? Like, it was just this big realization. I was like, how have I been living like that? Like, just, you know, just doing my thing. And I made a decision. It was like a choice point. It was a really distinct choice point. It was a really distinct choice point around, you know, I either pack up my life and I move back to Perth and I, you know, rejoin my family, or I stay here and I create my life. And I chose to stay here and create my life. And that was, you know, nearly 3 years ago that I made that decision. Now, fast forwarding back to this year, and, you know, like I said, at the dog attack, it was like that, you know, I was processing so much, but, you know, I was just crying so much. Like, it was horrendous. Like, you know, to be mauled by 2 dogs, and like it as I said, it really changed me. You know, and something that I love, like I fucking love animals. I worked in a pet shop since, you know, when I finished high school. Do you know what I mean? Like for 4 years, I was managing the pet shop. Like it was just, you know, like I love animals. I've always loved animals. And so for that to happen, it was, you know, anyway, so it was a lot. And I, you know, as I said, made that decision, you know, within that 18 months. I was like, honey, you need to just zip it up. You need to, you know, get off this land, because being on the land still, like facing it, and I tried to move and I tried to do other things, and for whatever reason, like I just wasn't able to get off the land. And I was like, the land needs to keep me here. Like whatever, I'm meant to stay here, I'm meant to face this stuff, whatever. I made my excuse of like why I couldn't get off the land. Like whatever, like I couldn't figure it out. Like I couldn't figure it out. And then slowly over time, it chipped away at me, because it was like, I'm Hannah. I'm someone who manifests the fuck out of her life. I'm a go-getter. I create my fucking reality. I can do anything I want to do. Like I manifest my dreams into reality. Like I trust my intuition. I am this person. And it just chipped away and chipped away and chipped away and chipped away, because I've been fucking stuck out here. Now, yes, it's a mindset, okay? But if you're going to start judging me for, like, if I had a stuck mindset, this live stream is not for you. I'm not the mentor for you, okay? So, off we go. Because I'm the person who creates their fucking reality, and I have today. I've created my business, I'm self-made millionaire, like, all the things. Like, I fucking know how to work this shit. And this is the stuff that is, like, pulled me down to the great stuckness of an abyss of isolation. Like, isolation makes you go fucking insane. But have I been losing my mind? Have I been going insane? Or have I been reconnecting to a part of me that has been lost in the depths of time? And I've also been so fucking conscious of that, because my psychic abilities from being out here are next level insane. Like this is so normal for me. And then I get around normal humans and I'm like, okay, all right, I see my gift. I see my gift. I see my gift. And so this like point, you know, in the last few months, so that's sort of from the eclipse, from Unhook Me. It was like that Unhook Me workshop that I held, like, you know, as I said, it, you know, it was like unhooking from any toxicity from your life that's holding you back for your purpose. That's the basis of the Unhook Me workshops. And then we did the new moon eclipse. And, you know, like I didn't realize at the time, but when I look back at it, like now, I'm like, fuck, I've just been in this blip of time. Like I feel like I've died. And I think even in my private live streams, or I don't know, maybe I've said it publicly, I'm like, I feel like I'm dying, like I'm, you know, and it's like, well, part of me is dying, right? And it's just been so like weird and sort of that, I don't know, I'm a bit lost for time, but like, so say March, April, I felt like I remembered that I buried the dog attack to like just function normally and to be able to get off this land and like live my life again. And what happened around that sort of like February, March, April was like, I felt this like, it was like a ball or a sphere, if you make, because I just sort of like buried it. I was very conscious I was burying it, like, you know, a couple of years ago, because I just had to get on with work and be able to, you know, like get on with life, right? I was like, right, you just need to do this, Hannah. And so I buried it very consciously to know that, you know, because I was hearing things at the time, like, you know, and it's a bit like staying in a domestic violence relationship and trying to heal. Like there's a sort of a bit of a line that only you can tell when you need to like either stay to heal and transform the relationship in yourself, or leave and then do the work. Do you know what I mean? And only you know how to do that. And, you know, that sort of in mind, as well as like being around humans is like essential for people. And anyway, so this like ball, this sphere of dog attack, like I felt it like sort of rise up in me around this like March, April, if you may, and it came up like a sphere, and I felt it pop, and I was just like, whoa, and it like made me remember that I buried the dog attack to like get on with and deal with life sort of thing. And it was just like this, you know, like it was huge, right? And I was just like, wow, okay. And then it's just been like filtering out of my body, I guess, you know, and I was just like, wow, my body physically can't hold this down anymore, because I'm not a person who suppresses stuff. I'm not a person who can lie. Like I don't, right? Like I am like the most in truth, in integrity, in like alignment person. And you'll feel that from me. Like, you know, I don't bullshit. I don't fucking beat around the bush. Like, I'm like, why would you do that, right? So it's like, for me to bury something like that, like, I was very conscious I did it. And it was just a way that I could cope at the time, right? It was just like, okay, well, I just have to do this for now and do this, right? Oh, Chelsea, I love that. You started reading my book and you're hooked. It's so nice to find my tribe. Yes. Yeah, I did share a bit of this actually, especially the dog attack healing part at that point. So... but what I'm sharing today is not in my book, because this just happened the other day. So, but this sort of little bit of backstory I think is important for what I'm sharing, because, you know, it has been the last few months of like this popping out of this stuff, right? So, okay, what's the next most important thing? So a lot of you also know that, you know, I've been through a lot of relationships in my past that I've walked away from, or they've walked away from me, or, you know, those pieces, because it's like, you know, the toxic relationships. Like I've learned a lot about relationships, like through all my career working with people as an intuitive healer and life purpose mentor online. All I was working with, well, not all, but a lot, was working with people in relationships to either leave the unhealthy toxic relationships or fix their marriage. And they either did either. And for a long time, I would be like talking to my clients and I'd be like, well, I'm actually not, like I'd had all my like imposter syndrome stuff come up. I'd be like talking to my client, I'm like, well, I'm not actually in a relationship, a healthy relationship. Like I wasn't in a relationship at all. I walked away from all the toxic stuff, but I was like, I'm not actually in a relationship, so take this with a grain of salt. But if I was in a relationship, this is what I'd do. And I'd always sort of give them that, because, you know, I'm in truth again, right? So Kathy says, yeah, so relate. I get told I'm totally brutally honest. Brutally honest, yeah. It's a thing, right? And people can feel it. People can feel when people are bullshitting, and people can feel when it's the truth. And that's what people are looking for, especially after 2020. So anyway, so a lot of the time, like, and that's what I've always worked and helped clients with: get on purpose, walk away from what's not in alignment to come into alignment with your purpose, with relationships, heal marriages, like save 20-year marriages, like, you know, that are not toxic, but they're falling apart and they don't know why. And I've helped them with stuff like that. So it's like, for 8 years, I've been working reality awareness online, and I've just purely done online. I've not done any in-person events for 8 years. I used to teach workshops. I used to do all the things in person. Then in 2016, I moved reality awareness online. In 2017, I committed to fully online, and I haven't looked back. And in June, through like a synchronistic divine period of events, like I actually had, like, because I'm on property, and then like Energex, the energy company in Australia, power company, were like replacing power lines through the property because they were pretty old and whatever. And so for a period of a few weeks, we had our power out. And the first time it happened, I didn't get notification. I was like, what are all these trucks doing? And I'm like, oh, I can't work. I'm like, okay, fine. So I said to my daughter, I'm like, let's just go into Monday. Let's go into town. Let's go and have breakfast. And, you know, we can't work, can't do anything here with no power. So let's just go. So we did. And it was, at the time I was like, oh, and I'll just take my books, you know, I'll just take my books and go and, see about putting them in a bookstore, because that is something that's been on my to-do list. And I was like, okay, let's sort that out. So we did. So I went there and, you know, spoke to the lady, and I was like, how do you, like, let's do this process. How do we do this? How do I get my book in your store? And she's like, well, usually we have like a book signing and you set up the table at the front, blah, blah. And I'm like, sweet, let's do that. So lo and behold, as some of you know, and I think Dawn's here, she came to receive the book signing and meet me. And so I did. So I had my book signing at Monday. Now, that is the first time in 8 years that I have stepped out to do something offline, right? and I held that, right? I did that. Now, at the time, so it was like the first time I did that, and this man came, and I knew, it was like I knew. So little backtrack as well. Throughout that time, you know, months before, some of you might have known that my reel went viral on Instagram, and it's got 7.3 million views right now, and gained like 60,000 followers in the space of 2 months, and amongst the people that saw that was the man that I'm now with. And I saw his profile come up, and, you know, sort of stalked him a bit, and I was like, oh, who's this man? Like, you know, and you know, just sort of noticed him. And then because as I'm scrolling through his profile, like, he's talking about intuition and things, and I'm like, who is this man? Like, you know. And anyway, I just sort of left it because, you know, I've learned from all the, you know, work that I've done that I'm not the one to chase. I'm not doing anything, and I'd given up. I'd definitely given up on love. I was like, I just got my purpose work to do. I'm just doing my stuff. And so he, you know, like when I posted about Monday, I saw that he liked my post because not many people actually like that post, and I was like, oh, and I was like, oh, I wonder if he's coming. And like, it was just this like little thought, and then I it was getting like closer to the day, and it was so weird. I was like, oh, I wonder if he's coming. Like, it was just, I was like, oh, he's probably got clients on Saturday. No, he's probably, and I was like, what the fuck am I even thinking this? I'm like, I don't even fucking know this man. Like, I don't know. Like, do you know what I mean? And I just like push it out of my head. Anyway, on the book signing day, he like, you know, I was just doing my thing, and then like I looked and I saw him like coming up the street, and I was like, fuck, he came. Like, I was like, oh, concentrate. And I was just like, my whole body, like my whole entire fucking body was just like, I'd never felt that with somebody before. Like, I'd never felt, you know, like when you meet a person and there's a connection, like, it's like, feels like a chord, just like a, you know, like if I could try and describe it, right? It's like, you just feel like a chord connection. Oh yeah, you feel connected to them. Oh yeah, this person is like a chord, or like thin, if you may. But this, I've never felt with anyone before, an entire aura and physical body, like, oof, like this person. Like when I saw him walking up the street, I was like freaked out and trying to concentrate with who I was talking to. And then like, you know, it was like busy street, and like everyone just blurred out, and he's just like walking up, and I was just like, oh my God, like this whole body feeling. Anyway, it's just, you know, and sort of the rest is history. There's so much to that story, but I wanted to put that bit in because like we are literally made for each other. Like, you know, I've never felt this feeling with someone. I felt this feeling from somebody, but I haven't felt it in return. And then I'm like, this is why, because this is the man that I've been waiting for, without realize that I was waiting for, because I'd given up on love, but I also knew what I was looking for, but I didn't settle. And I have very high standards, and those standards have been quote unquote rewarded, right? Like a lot of people go through toxic relationships because they settled, because they gave up, because they compromised. And I've always been someone, like, you know, I've been told many times, you have to compromise in a relationship. And I'm like, no, you fucking don't. Like, no. And I came to peace with being single for the rest of my life, being the crazy cat lady for the rest of my life. Like, there was so much grief in all of that. But I gave up, and I came to peace with loving myself, loving my life, even being deformed from the dog attack, even feeling like everything had been stripped away from me, and now I'm just living out in the land because I can't move, and like everything, like I came to peace with that. I came I grieved a lot, right? And in this time being out here, I grieved a lot of the loves that I could have had, or maybe I should have been different in those relationships, or hung on to them, or, you know, right back through to high school. Like, it didn't all happen overnight, but over the 4 years that I've been living here, there was definitely like this sort of process of unthreading and, you know, releasing like all the loves that I could have stayed with, or I could have done this, like right back to high school, back to my first loves. And, you know, and I didn't know, I didn't know what I was doing, right? And I know I've been on initiation out here for this. like for my work, you know, like for doing whatever I do, like my purpose work. This is what I do, right? Like this is who I am. And so, you know, it was just like this thing. And then, you know, Shane's walked into my life and I'm like, wow, this is what I've done all that work for. Like, this is what I've always believed in. And because of the dog attack and being quote unquote stuck on this land out here, and my confidence and everything being stripped away, like so many you would have heard me over and over say, I've been like, everything's been stripped back, everything's been stripped away. Like all my resources, everything's been taken away. And I knew it was for a reason, but I didn't know it was for this reason. And it was like my trauma shell had to disintegrate, the hard masculine, having it all together, having to hold it all together, like, you know, being a person who's done it all on my own for a long time, like that having to fully disintegrate and me surrender to a level to be able to let him in, to be able to let him find me energetically, you know, like the dog attack changed me. Like even when Dad would say, you know, be like, oh, just do this and this, and I'm like, fuck Dad, I can't. Like it was such a realization. It was such a physical realization, like Hannah that does everything, can do everything. Like I just got to this point where I just physically couldn't do things that I used to do. Like, and then there was parts where I chose not to do. I'm like, that's a man's job. I'm not doing that anymore. Like, you know, there was really that distinct of like, no, I'm also not choosing to hold it all together to be that person anymore. So I was consciously choosing, and also like I physically can't, like choosing not to, right? We always can. So it is full circle. And yeah, so Kathy says the man you were waiting for, but not really waiting for. Exactly. It's exactly that, right? So talk about trusting your intuition, because as I said, I'd let go of love, like, you know, but I didn't realize underneath, I guess I still was like looking, but I'd given up, but I was just focused on my purpose work, because what else is there to do? But there was a lot of letting go. There was a lot of like just having to let go of everything you've ever known to become someone who is that, of what you want in manifesting your dreams. Because the piece about manifestation and allowing your dreams to find you, or manifesting and living a dream life and trusting your intuition enough to fully go after that, is that you become a different person. You are not the same person you were, right? I've had a lot of people like unfollow me and, you know, you've changed and like you've gone all these things since I moved out here, because it wasn't the beach lifestyle, walking on the bikini, in my bikini on the beach every day. So I lost a lot of followers for that, right? And so there was a lot of grief, because I've always been a person who could attract a lot of attention. And then out here, I've just like lost myself. It's just this confidence chipped away. So here's literally the male version of me. And it blows my fucking mind. Like just the way he talks or things he does, he's like more psychic than me. And I'm like, how is that even possible? Well, I think we're about a match. Sorry, Shane, I think we're a match, but like we are though, like, and you know, yeah. So it's brilliant. It's beautiful. It's all the things. Thanks, Doreen. Yes, you are. Definitely full circle. Thank you for being happy for me. Susan says, I could feel that you had met someone. There was a glow about you that I felt before. It's truly magical. There's no feeling in life like a once in a lifetime vibration that goes through like electricity. You can just fall to your knees and cry. Yeah, there was a lot of crying. Even on the first day that we met, when he came to the book signing, like I knew from his profile, just, you know, I was just like, who is this man? Like, it wasn't like I knew, but I was like, who is this man? And then when he came, it was just like the energy between us is just, yeah, and he knew too, but I'll let him tell his story whenever, one day maybe. So, okay. So I'm going to rewind a little bit. So there's so much that I could share about Shane and I together, and we will eventually. But I really want to share this part about I've been released from the dungeons from ancient Greece. Because as I've said, a lot of you have heard me say I feel stuck out here, especially in the first couple of years. I didn't know what to do with it, and I was complaining about it a lot because I didn't know what else to do. Like, you know, and I couldn't, like, and I think that's been the biggest thing, that's been the biggest piece about this whole transformational journey, or whatever the fuck it is, I still don't know fully yet, is that the biggest part about everything and all of it is that I've always been a person that can figure everything out and make things happen and make shit happen and change the world and gotta do this. Like, I've just been that person. You've seen me over the years. You fucking see me. I do everything. I'm fucking can do anything. Like, I heal anything or whatever, right? Like, it's a thing. And then being out here, the part is that I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know what to do. I'm stuck here. Like, I've tried everything. And when you've tried everything and there's no more ideas and there's no more, like, everything you tried just being blocked, like, that fucking knocks you. It knocks you. But it sort of knocked me for a reason and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so the part about this, I've been released from the dungeons of ancient Greece, is really fucking insane. So, okay, so I'm just going to share what's coming through because there's so many pieces, but I'll just share what Spirit's wanting me to share about it. So probably, I don't know, within the last month or something, you know, when Shane's been here, he's like, you know, show me where the dog attack was. Like, show me where it was on land. So I showed him and, you know, had a look and whatever. And I didn't really go down there, I don't think. I was just like, yeah, it's just down there. And he walked down there, whatever. Anyway, I don't know, one morning we woke up and he's like, I had a dream, because he's very visual in the dreams, very clairvoyant, and he's like, I had a dream and you had put like the tin sheets, you know, like the roofing on a house, like the tin sheets, you put tin sheets and a tarpaulin and 4 big like rocks on either corner to like cover it up. And I'm like, that sounds about right. I was like, yep, that's probably what I've done. And I was like, okay. And anyways, I just left it, and, you know, time's gone on and bits and pieces, and like, yeah, it's you know, it's really affected me. And I think just in that last few months where it's just surfaced back up, and I'm like, wow, I haven't, you know, I knew that I buried it. I sort of forgot that I buried it. My body can't physically hold it anymore. So I've just been collapsing, like, just like, I don't know what to do with this. And then Shane's really been helping me, thank goodness. Very unexpected, not what I asked of him expected, but he's just like been the man that's just come in and just, you know, and I don't think any other person could have done this because of his skill set matches mine, etc. Maybe it's more, whatever. We are a match. But anyway, so we're equals. I'm hearing we're equals. So anyway, so then just like the other day, or, you know, he has said, oh, we need to do a clearing of it or whatever. And I'm like, okay, whatever's. And then leading up to this, like the last week, there's been some fucking horrendous dark shit going on. And I haven't shared it, but I'm like, okay, it's time for me to film the darkness in the throat chakra. And I got halted in it because I got halted in filming about the shadow and darkness and demons and entities for the throat chakra consciousness and the advanced training, because like my stuckness on it was like, there's so much that I need to cover. How can I ethically teach this when it's like, it's a limitless about teaching the darkness, the demons, the entities of what people need to know about it, because it's a huge part of our reality, the light, dark, spiritual warfare, like it's fucking massive. Like, and that's what really halted me from filming anymore in the throat on that particular subject, because, you know, it's like an ethical thing. I'm like, how do I cover everything, and how, like, do you know what I mean? And it really has halted me for like probably the past 2 years or so. Anyway, just got to rewind. I knew there was a piece missing, but Spirit just reminded me. So not sure if maybe I shared it publicly, maybe I didn't, maybe I just shared it in my Trust Intuition support group because of the nature of it, but I'm going to share it here anyway. So I had to go back through. So I'm not sure if those of you who remember, but it was 18 months ago. It was May 2023. It was during a full moon ceremony that, you know, I was just out with the full moon ceremony doing my thing, but I, in my own process, saw down on the land, just down there on the land, I don't know where it is down there, the 3-headed dog. It's called, I don't know if it's Cerberus or something like that. The 3-headed dog. So if I just bring that up, where is it? Cerberus, the 3-headed dog in Greek mythology. His role is to guard the gates of Hades to allow dead people in, but no one out. And I really, like, it sort of shook me, but didn't. But I was like, oh, okay, it's time to film the darkness. Okay, maybe I'm ready to film the darkness now. And I spoke to my good friend, and like we did this sort of clearing stuff and like, you know, understanding it and whatever. And anyway, I'd forgotten about it. I'd fully forgotten about it. Just going to leave that to the side for a minute. And then, yeah, and so just, you know, Shane fast forwarding to now again, Shane had said, you know, we need to do a clearing on it, whatever. The last week there's been like, it's been really a lot of darkness, a lot of stuff. And I've been really frozen. Like I even wrote that post not long ago about like, can you remind her, can you know, she's safe, blah, 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 whatever I wrote in that. So it's like, I could feel it all defrosting. But I had felt this frozen nature in everything that I was doing, or couldn't talk, or that was just frozen. And I knew that this was the trauma defrosting too, right? For those of you who follow me, and I went down to Victoria in 2020, and it's very cold in Victoria, especially in winter. And I was like, right, this is like helping me face this frozen trauma. And then I've come up here, this happened, blah, blah. So anyway, he was here the other day on Wednesday, and, you know, we'd planned to like do all this work together and whatever as we do. And like the morning sort of didn't, I don't know, it was just different, like flow. We always trust the flow. There's always a plan, but we always trust the flow. And whatever happens, like he was like, okay, we're going to do this clearing now. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? He's like, come on. He's just like dragging me down there basically. I was like, what now? Like, and I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, okay, this needs to be done. Because I probably wouldn't have faced it otherwise. And anyway, so we walked down there, and I was about to put my gumboots on, like my Wellingtons, for those of you who don't know. We call them gumboots in Australia. And they're actually what saved my life with the dog attack, because I always put them on out here because snakes, ticks, blah, blah, blah. I just feel safe with them on. And I went to put them on, and I was halted, and he's like looking at me, and I was like, you don't want me to wear these, do you? And I was like, oh, fucking hell. Like, I hate walking on the land out here barefoot, because there's massive like prickles and like stuff's just big out here, snakes, etc. Anyway, so we walked barefoot out there, and he's had his big stuff and whatever. And as I was walking down, like I sort of went like a big long way around, and I could feel my heart like, and it happened twice as I was like walking around, and I was like, fuck, did my heart stop? Like, did my heart actually stop when that happened? You know, it was like, I was like, fuck. And then like, you know, he's opening the circle, and I went and sort of stood in the spot, and it's immediately, and if anyone has been in any of my distance healings or healings with me, or worked with me one-on-one, or my full moon ceremonies, like when we're burping, it's like it clears out the energy, right? We're burping, coughing, crying, like whatever wants to come out. It's like it's a big purge, right? And as soon as I got over there, I started like burping, and like, you know, obviously I'd let myself go into this clearing because I've got this man helping me, and I trust him and feel safe and blah, blah, blah. So I like fully surrendered to it, right? The whole process. And I you know, it was just like, I can't really remember the sequence of events, right, because I was just in it. But he, you know, sort of opened the circle and said all these things and does all his magic that he does, and I just let myself like, just, it was just lots of burping, coughing, like I was, you know, calling on Archangel Michael and the spirit guides and the dragons to like pull all this darkness out of me, and, you know, all this stuff. And it was just like this, like it was so weird, like to try and describe. I mean, who knows what it was, right? But it was like, it was down, if you go down into, it was sort of like down here, but it was like my soul. It wasn't like my physical body. Like I kept saying to him, I'm like, this is so deep. Like this was darkness clearing out of my soul. Like if my soul was like this light, bright thing of how we imagine a soul to be, and it was just like darkness, like in all the depth of my soul. Like it was so weird. You can never understand this stuff, but it was like, you know, just pulling it out and coughing and burping it out, and I was just like, oh, this is so deep. And I'm like spitting and stuff, and crying, of course, crying, and it was like all this stuff was coming out, and it just, I just kept saying, it's so dark, like, and he's doing all this clearing magic stuff, like holding this fucking powerful space for me, and like it's all clearing out. And then I just, you know, crying, and sort of would stop, and I just like it sort of stopped, because it always waves, right? And people are like, oh, my crying stopped, and I'm like, no, it waves. It's like the ocean. It'll, you know, it'll sort of draw back, and then it'll wave again, right? When we're healing, it's like this, it's a breath in, a breath out, breath in, breath out. And so then these other waves kept coming, and I was just like, you know, just how scary it was with the dog attack, and, you know, just all the things. That's right. So little rewind, because 3 nights before, like we're on the phone, and like this, the memory of when like I was actually in the fear of actually dying, like I'd really buried that. Like I was only conscious of the memory of when the dogs grabbed me, and you've probably heard me talk about, I'm so grateful they only grabbed my little finger. How did they not grab my whole hand? How did they not go for my face? How did the gumboots save me and they only had my leg? Because if I didn't have them on, they would have ripped my calf muscle out and probably would have bled to death out there. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so many, I was always grateful for those aspects. And that was like, but underneath in the darkness that was the moment where I thought I was going to die because I couldn't do anything. Like, and so this sort of fear was just stuck in my body. And so all of that was purging out. But I was also like, you know, I said to him, I was like bending over and I was like, oh, there's like a blade in my back, like through my diaphragm, it felt like. And it was like this, you know, like a, I don't know, not an axe shape, not a samurai sword shape, but it was like a blade, like this, you know, sort of thickness of a blade of an axe or something, but just thick, like, you know, and it was just sort of stuck through my diaphragm. Like if someone was to like chop you in, like it was just stuck in there. And I said to him, I'm like, there's a blade in there, like, and he's like pulling it all out and stuff like this. And, you know, and it was just like, it was so dark. Like, it was just dark. It was just, I kept saying, it was like, it's so dark. And then I just sort of stood up after a while, like this is going on for a while, right? And then I stood up and, you know, and I wasn't really here. I was like looking around, but I wasn't really here, but I was crying and I was just like taking a breath, taking a moment. And he's like standing like so close to me and just, you know, doing all his magic stuff, healing, whatever, holding deep space. And, you know, I just like looked over at the trees because the trees speak, nature speaks. And I looked over at this particular tree. There's a particular species of tree, I guess, that I've really connected with on the land through here. And I just looked over and I just heard so clearly, they said we wanted to help and we couldn't. Like when the dogs got me, because I was screaming at the top of my lungs. Sorry. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. Like, I don't know if you've ever screamed so loud. I don't know if you've been at a concert or a festival or something and you're screaming. Like, if you've ever screamed so loud that the scream rattles your eardrums. I was screaming that loud, like someone help me, because out on the ridge, like there's houses on the ridge, and I was like, maybe they could hear me when they had me in tug of war on the ground and I couldn't move, right? And so anyway, I'm standing there, and as I looked over the trees, like the tree said, like, because the trees now are obviously watching all this, 11:11, right? And the trees now watching this healing and happening, and the trees said, like, we couldn't help you. And I just was like bawling because it was just so clear when they said that. When I looked over at them, like, and I obviously just looked over because I felt them, and then they said that. They were like, we couldn't help you. And I was like, I felt how sad they were that they were watching and they couldn't do anything. And then they said, we witnessed your resurrection that day. And I was just like, whoa. And I just said to Shane, I was like, the trees just spoke. And he's like, because he was like standing here, like facing this way. So and I looked over, but I didn't see what he was doing. And I said, the trees just spoke. And he's like, I just saw that tree move, like, you know, in his clairvoyance and the way the trees speak to him, and his intuition speaks to him. And like, he saw it at the same time. And I just started bawling my eyes out, and I just like fell into him because I was just like, I feel like I've been going crazy out here. Like my intuition and my psychic abilities are that strong that sometimes I'm like, did I really just see that? Did I really just hear that? Is that real? Like, you know, and for in that moment of the tree speaking to me, that he saw it speak at the same time, it was like, I'm like, oh, I'm not going crazy. I'm like, this is my gift. This is like who I am. Like, do you know what I mean? It was just insane. And even the trees, like I have a strong connection to trees. You know, seeing like they're so real. Like it's like they're the lifeblood of this planet in a way, right? And so anyway, so that happened, and then as that happened, like this next wave of all the darkness happened, and you know, it's like the next, like this wave of like this, all the darkness, and I was just bending over again, and he's just like doing whatever he was doing to me and my energy, and like doing all his magic, casting it up to the light and back to the portal, and all the things he was doing in this circle that he created, this space. And because of all that, like I just let myself go into it all, because he was holding this fucking powerful space, and you know, and it was just like this, like he's a healer, this is what he does too. It's like he's like the male version of me. And so And so this next wave of darkness came out, and it was like so deep and so like, it was just like, oh, like it was just all coming out. And I just kept saying, this is so old and this is so deep. And I'm like, it's so dark. Like, and I was just bawling my eyes out, crying and all this stuff. And that, however long that went on for. And then again, like after all that sort of came out and I stood up and I was just like in it, and I was just like, it just came out of my mouth. It was like, I've been released from the dungeons of ancient Greece. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And I could feel it, like when I was, and I said to him, like it was under my feet down in the earth. It was like, it's all the way down there, like this darkness that was coming up through my soul, but it was like my soul, but it was the earth, but it was my soul. Like, I don't know, it was so full on. And I just said those words and I don't know. And then the next wave like came and it was just like, whoa, and this big fucking purging came out. And so this like, you know, big purge came out, blah, blah, blah. However long it went on for, I'm out of time. I don't know. And then after a while, like it just felt complete and I was clear in, you know, and he felt it too. I didn't say anything. He could feel it, of course. And so he just like, you know, and after a while, like everything just came so clear. Like I could just see everything, grass, trees, nature, world, like just clear. Like everything is just so clear. Like it's like high definition. I'm like, where have I been? Like it was just this weird, like it was so big. It was so big. Anyway, so that was the main sort of part of the clearing. And then, you know, once we felt it was finished, he closed the circle and he's like, there was a hawk above us. And I know he said some other animal came. I can't remember. Yeah, so then we came back up inside and like part of the process was to have a shower to finish cleansing off everything. So I did opt in the shower and it was so full on because even walking back up, like he just walked up and then I was just like, I was slow because I was like, fuck, this is how I walked up after it happened. In just the whole, you know, I was screaming out to my lungs because my daughter was asleep in bed, like, and thank fuck, really, because what would she have done? And I didn't want her to come out. But as soon as I came in our gate fence, that's when she woke up and heard me, but I'd been screaming the whole time before, like, and I'm like screaming, I'm like, get the keys, we gotta go, like, you know, to the hospital. And I'm like walking up and she's like, run out. She's like, what's happened? I'm like, my finger's hanging off. I don't know how it was just hanging by a thread. Like, I don't know. And then like, you know, and I'm standing outside and I like took my gumboots off and like, I was like, get the keys, we've got to go. And took my boots off and then like looked at my leg and I'm like, we're not going anywhere, call an ambulance. I'm laughing about it now, but anyway. So as I'm like walking up after this process and clearing, like that was all coming out too. I was just like, fuck, that's right. This is what happened. And then like, you know, he told me to, you know, part of the process was having a shower. And so I'd gone into the bathroom, but that's actually also what I did. Like I went in the bathroom, you know, and just laid on the bathroom, put my leg up. I don't know, must have remembered first aid or something. Put my leg up and it's like blood and holes and stuff coming out and whatever. And yeah, and I laid on the bathroom floor a day, got me towels and pillows and stuff just to make myself comfortable, called the ambulance, blah, blah, blah. But like laid on the bathroom floor for 2 hours waiting for the ambulance. And so like that whole process of even him saying like, you know, I knew before and I just sort of forgotten that that was what even happened. And so when I went in the bathroom, I just sort of sat with all of that and got out a new like razor blade to like shave my legs, like while I'm just processing this now, because I remembered that I didn't even shave my legs for like 2 months because of all the wounds and everything on my legs. And it was like, it was so, you know, it was like a nurse that after a while, like she, you know, on the checkups and whatever, she's like, you know, you can actually like shave your legs and stuff. And I'm like, it was just like, oh, I can, like, you know, it was just like, I was so traumatized by it, of course. And so in the shower, I was like really like consciously like pulling myself back, like, it's okay, we can do this now. Like just so much tears and like just felt so empowering to like pull myself back from that, even though I've done so much work on that. This process with what Shane did and held for me was like, it was so massive. So I'm in the shower doing this obviously, and he's come in with his laptop. He'd been researching, like, you know, came into the bathroom and he's like got his laptop and he's like, he read this thing out, fucking get this, right? Blows my fucking mind. He's like, hang on, where is it? So I'm like still repairing myself from the process. And he's like, Tartaros was the dungeon of the damned, a region in Hades where the souls of wicked men were condemned by the judges of the dead to a period of enforced purgatory, or for the truly irredeemable to eternal damnation. I'm in the shower, I'm like, what did you say? He's like, Tartaros was the dungeon of the damned, a region in Hades where the souls of wicked men were condemned by the judges of the dead to a period of enforced purgatory, or for the truly irredeemable to eternal damnation. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm in the shower, I like open the door, I'm like, what did you just say? Like, and I'm like, can you read that again? I was like, where? I was like, Tartaros, like, what did you find that? And he's like, I just typed into Google dungeons, ancient Greece, and that fucking came up. I'm like, what? What did you say? I'm like, can you read that again? What? And I was like, because I couldn't quite get it because I'm in the shower, and I'm like, also like, what? Like, it literally typed that in, dungeons, ancient Greece, and this fucking came up. And I said to him, I was like, Tartaros, like Tartaria, which is a whole nother depth that I could talk on, because I'm like, fuck, like, you know, like Tartaria, if you know, like the mud floods and the Tartaria stuff, but the play on words and Tartaros and Tartaria, I was like, oh, that's a whole rabbit hole. I'm going to talk about that another time, because I'm just like, I am reality awareness. As Dawn said, this is my purpose, to break reality, like to bring reality awareness, right? Anyway, I was like, Tartaros, like Tartaria, and then I was like, you know, as he's sort of reading it again, I was like, Tartaros, like, because I saw like a water horse. Now I know, like, water horse, like in the Scottish water lakes, you know, the water horse is a kind creature, you know, like, and I didn't mean like, oh, it's the water horse, like in a bad way. I just saw like a water horse figure, like a Chinese dragon figure, like a serpent, but it was more water horse. And when he like read it, and I was just like fucking blown away. I was just like, you just typed that in and that's what came up. I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, how many times on this land have I felt like I'm stuck, or I'm in this great abyss, or I can't leave here? Like, and after the clearing, that like, that's the words that came out of my fucking mouth. Like, what? Like, what? Oh my fucking God, right? And it says here, it should be noted that the archaic Greek poets represented Tartaros in a very different fashion. For them, it was a great cosmic pit beneath the earth in which the Titans and hurricane daemons were confined. It was only about the 5th century that Tartaros was reimagined as a type of hell and contrasted with the paradise realm of Elysion, which is like, I guess, religion's heaven on earth, heaven on hell, like, you know, heaven and hell. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the hell is this? Like, this is insane. So it's just like, you know, and then I've like watched shows that like confirm all these things, and I'm like, this is blowing my fucking mind. So when I did, like, you know, that was that day, and then that night, like, I was still like, you know, like I'm still processing it. I was going to live stream on this yesterday, and I was still processing it. It's insane. And so I did more research. I was like, what is this judges of the dead? Like, so the judges of the dead were originally mortal men, sons of the god Zeus, who were granted their station in death as a reward for establishing law and order on earth. Like, let's just bring this back a minute. So I don't know how to pronounce these names properly, but it's like Radamanus, Minos, and Achaos were the judges of the dead, 3 demigod ministers of Hades. They were originally mortal men, sons of the god Zeus, who were granted their station in death as a reward for establishing law and order on earth. So they created the rules of law and order on earth. Interesting. And now they're the judges of who leaves hell and who never does. No one actually does, by the way. What the fuck? Insane. And I was just reading all this stuff, and I'm just like, I don't understand. I was like, who put me in like enforced purgatory for the truly irredeemable to the eternal damnation. I was like, what the fuck did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Like, what did I do that was so bad that I ended up there? Like, what the fuck? This is definitely a to be continued, but what the fuck, right? I was like, that was... And then when I was reading, so it's so interesting, right? Because that Tartaros, as I said, like when I said it to him, I saw it as a water horse. And then I just think it was this one. When I clicked more on reading more, so Tartaros was the great pit beneath the earth in the oldest of the Greek cosmologies. The universe was envisaged. This is so interesting, right? You know how there's all this like fighting about it's a flat earth, it's a globe, it's all the things, and I'm like, it's a realm, it's something that we can't place everyone's picking up correctly, but they're picking up bits, and it's not either or, it's all of it. And this made a lot of sense. It was like Tartaros was the great pit beneath the earth in the oldest of the Greek that word. The universe was envisaged as a great sphere or egg-shaped ovoid, with the solid dome of the sky forming the upper half and the inverse dome of the pit of Tartaros of the lowest. The flat horizontal disc in the earth divided the interior of the cosmic sphere in two halves. Did you hear that? The flat horizontal disc of the earth divided the interior of the cosmic sphere into two halves. Now that makes sense of why people were like, it's a flat earth. And what it actually is it's a dimensional 2D place. Even though it seems 3D for us, we live in a 2D world. So like the higher dimensions looking in, we're a flat, like we experience reality differently. It seems 3D, but it's not. It's a 2D dimensional flat disc, but we experience and live it as 3D. And that's why in the higher dimensions, we can't comprehend, like we can't fathom it, because we're in this 2D thing that's actually, when we're in it, it doesn't seem 2D. But we are in a 2D thing. So when something comes in, it looks really weird, but actually it's a higher dimensional. Does that make sense? The flat horizontal disc of the earth divided the interior cosmic sphere into two halves, the homes of men and gods above, and the gloomy storm-wrapped prison of the Titans below. Hades was originally quite distinct from the pit of Tartaros. The land of the dead was located at either the very ends of the earth beyond the river Oceanus, the ocean. How many times do we see films say there's all the portals and everything through the oceans? And the setting places of the sun, or else in the hollow depths of the earth's belly. Tartaros, on the other hand, descended as far beneath Hades in the deep recesses of the flat earth and as the sky rose above the earth. So full on, right? Tartaros was secured, get this, Tartaros was secured with a surrounding wall of bronze set with a pair of gates guided by the 100-handed Hecanetes or whatever. And this bit, oh my fucking god. The primordial deity of the Tartarian pit sired a single child by earth, Gaia, named Typhoeus, a monstrous serpentine storm giant who attempted to seize the throne of heaven. Zeus vanquished the creature and cast it back down to the pit of Tartaros, where it remained as the cosmic source of hurricanes and storm winds. Tartaros scarcely figures in myth and is purely Tartaros scarcely figures in myth and was purely an elemental deity, the pit itself of an anthropomorphic god. What the fuck? I'm saying what the fuck because this is also something, isn't that so interesting, Ashley? It makes me think of the two hemispheres of the earth. Very interesting, because how do we know where the hemisphere is? Where's the actual line? When we're traveling, like, there's no actual line, it's all made up. How do we know when we're flying? Like all of that, right? And this is like I always said, I talked about this in Master Manifestor last year. It's like every time we get on a plane, we're time traveling. Every time we get in an automobile, we're time traveling. Like we are time traveling all the time and we don't realize it. all the time, pardon the pun, and how Australia was where they sent all the prisoners. Fuck, and this is where I am, out in the fucking, what the fuck? So get this, right? I was going to do a part series, but I'm just going to continue this for the minute because this part's important. So the primordial deity of the Tartarian pit sired a single child by earth, which is so interesting because, you know, when they talk about Adam and Eve and the apple and, you know, and the serpent, like, hello, like, it's just all the same stories, right? This is Greek mythology. So the primordial deity of the Tartarian pit sired a single child by Gaia named Typhoeus, a monstrous serpentine storm giant who attempted to seize the throne of heaven. That's what I saw when he came into the bathroom with his laptop and started talking about Tartaros. I'm like, oh, like the water horse, like, you know, but he didn't find that. I found this later. Serpentine storm giant who attempted to seize the throne of heaven. Zeus vanquished the creature and cast it back down to the pit of Tartaros, where it remained as the cosmic source of hurricane and storm winds. So let me just leave that to the side for a minute. When I first moved out here, I was here for about 6 weeks, and this storm came through. So I'm like hilly valley area, and there's like this certain valley that there's, I don't know, it's like a portal, it's something else. There's so much shit that's happened here. I could write books about it, and I'm probably going to. And it came from a certain direction. The storms always come from a certain direction. Like, talk about portals, it comes from a certain direction. And this, so a storm came through when I first moved here, and it felt different, and it was really weird, and it was really different. And there hasn't been a storm like it since. And it was so like out of the blue. It was sideways wind. It was like, I thought the roof was going to blow off. I was freaking out. Like, I'm in an old Queenslander, so all the windows were rattling, and it was like someone was literally, I've explained this from day dot. It was like someone was running around the house. Now I'm on stilts because of the Queenslander. Someone was running around the house and opening up all the windows. Like, you know, like the old Queenslanders have the old, like, you know, push open windows, and some of them are not, but it was like, and the windows were rattling, open, close, like round and round. I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, someone was literally going around the house, and I was like freaking out, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what that was. And then all of a sudden it was gone, and I was like, that was something else. Like that, it had a different energy to it. It had a really different energy to it. And at the time we were filming Transcendence, and I was channeling Transcendence, and it was like it had a feeling of the Dark Mother, right? Like that's what it felt like. Like, and so in Transcendence, we have like the removal from the Dark Mother grid, and it's a really big one. And it came through one of the full moons. Anyway, so that was in October. Now let's rewind to a couple of months ago, and you know, for whatever reason, I was walking back, and, you know, it was sort of raining, and there'd been a bit of rain, and I'd said to myself, just walking back from the garage to the house, like, you know, just in my little conversation with myself, I was like, lucky we haven't had one of those storms since we moved in, like, and I was referring to that in myself. Anyway, probably about 3 weeks later, I haven't shared this either publicly, about 3 weeks later, it was raining, because it'd just been raining for a couple of weeks, you know, on and off. And it was just drizzling. It had been drizzling all day. It's rain, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. I was cooking dinner, and my daughter came in. I was serving up dinner, and we like just serving up, and then all of a sudden, this fucking noise, like a freight train, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And then I heard this snap, this loud bang or whatever it was, and it was like I knew what it was before I knew what it was. It was like sideways wind and rain coming in the windows all of a sudden. I was like, what the fuck? And I like dropped all the utensils, and I was like, just like instinctual, like ran like to get my gumboots on, grab my raincoat, like my big jacket, like the spotlight, because you need that out here. And I just like ran out to my car with the spotlight. I'm just like standing there. I just remember it. I'm just standing there with the spotlight, looking at my car. The rain's like pelting me like sideways. I got my jacket on, my dress getting drenched, and I'm just like, what the fuck? I was like, what the fuck? And it was like, I knew like a tree had snapped and landed on my car. Now, for those of you who know my car and how much I love my car, a fucking tree snapped on it. Not just a branch fell on it, an entire fucking tree on my car. The one fucking time I don't park it in the garage because it had been raining so much, like driving in the garage is like gets really muddy really quickly out here. And I was too scared to, like, you know, when you go up into the garage, like I didn't want it to slide because it does on the mud and like hit the garage, you know, wall thing as I go in. So I just left it out. There's no trees around my garage. There's one tree. The one tree. Like, even when I took it to the smash repairs to get the quote and stuff, she, like, showing her the photos, she's like, there's no trees. And I'm like, I know, right? She's like, oh, that's weird. And I'm like, yeah, you wouldn't read about it. I'm like, it's Hannah, you wouldn't read about it. Of course you wouldn't read about it. The one fucking tree. The one tree. Just before I did the book signing. Yeah, that's right. It was just before. Right? And the thing about it was, like, at the time in Trust Intuition, we're clearing out surrogate family, working on family stuff, like the whole family system. And, you know, when we talk about a family tree, it was like, it wasn't just a branch, it was the whole tree. And I was like, oh, there's the family tree snap. Like, what the fuck? And at the time also, like a couple of days after, this post came up from like Carl Jung, the Carl Jung Institute, I think it's called. And I was like, this is exactly what that fucking snap was. And I'm going to read it to you because it was so profound and it's so deep and it's so in the shadow work and it's so in releasing, like, all the surrogate family stuff so that you can live your unique life purpose and not a imprinted version from society or generational or even this reality as it is, because so many people are like just recreating what everyone else is doing, and it's like, that's not what we're here for. So this came up because it was really like, we're working on the family system, so I was healing a lot of father-daughter stuff at the time, a lot of masculine stuff at the time, and this came up from the Center of Applied Jungian Studies. So this is quite deep, so I'm only going to read it once and you just have to listen on replay. I can share the link actually in the comments to this thing. A father's daughter is often a woman whose father lived in the shadow of his wife's dad. In other words, the daughter's mother was also a father's daughter, disillusioned by the man she married, bitter that he was not the shining knight or the loving savior she once projected onto him. Stepping into that gap between fantasy and reality, the daughter may identify with the fantasy and try to be for her father what the mother failed to be. The configuration varies. The father may indeed be a beloved judge, respected doctor or lawyer in his community. He may truly be a great man. Conversely, he may be absent through alcoholism, divorce, or death, in which case the young daughter may fantasize about how perfect life would be if only daddy would come home. As a grown woman, she looks for a daddy lover who will cherish and nurture her, a daddy to whom she can be everything. Because she is not there in her body, she craves intellectual or spiritual light. What she often finds is a Luciferian light bringer, drunk on his vision or his whiskey or his drugs, or a man who constellates in her unconscious mother who may try to save him but will end up pandering to narcissistic little boy. At an even deeper level, she may find the men who magnetize her are not in fact like her father, but like the idealized masculine in her mother. She then has to swallow a bitter truth. The unconscious image that snared her mother is the very image that is snaring her. Ironically, she is living out the unconscious of the very woman she has spent her life determined to not emulate. While all women are not fathers' daughters, we are all daughters of the patriarchy, and although we are becoming more aware of oppression, we need to open our eyes to the projection of our intelligence, strength, and feelings onto men. We also need to take responsibility for our own unconscious collusion with tyranny. Fighting for our liberation in the business world, in court, in university, and in politics is important, but public victories are merely band-aids so long as the private world is in chains. That fact manifests in countless dreams of raped and murdered little girls, because dreams are photographs of our reality taken from the perspective of the unconscious. We have to keep asking, what are we unconsciously doing to ourselves that our inner feminine is so often left starving and bleeding? And gentlemen, you sons of the patriarchy, is the feminine flourishing in your dreams? Men talk about feeling guilty when they realize that the patriarchy has done to women. Men talk about feeling guilty when they realize what the patriarchy has done to women. They are the would-be rescuers in the victim tyranny rescuing triumvirate. That response itself is itself patriarchal, for the patriarchy can no longer be identified with men. Women can be equally patriarchal. Men have no monopoly on the power complex. I assure you, actual men are no worse than the male figures in women's dreams, and no better. They too dream of being their little daughter being dead. Whew. Right? Huge. And so this came up just after that landed on my car. So my car represents to me, for those of you who don't know, you know, my freedom. I bought it when my business had reached its first milestone, when I first was building online, you know, represented all that. But it's a V8. I love it. And through my lineage on both sides, there's been panel beating shops, V8s, like on both my mother and father's side. So it was also like this thing, like not just a branch, the whole fucking tree snapped and landed, and I'm like in the rain. And then the hurricane, it was the same hurricane typhoon feeling thing that came through. The primordial deity of the Tartarian pit sired a single child by Gaia, a monstrous serpentine storm giant who attempted to seize the throne of heaven. Zeus vanquished the creature and cast it back down into the pit of Tartaros, where it remained as the cosmic source of hurricanes and storm winds. Right. And it came through when I first moved here, and I felt like I was trapped ever since. And then when it came through and that landed on my car, and then all that happened with my car and the tree snap and the family tree and that lineage and the patriarchal thing that I just read out, and I'm like, whoa. And at the same time, I'm like, the curse is broken, it's done. I'm like, can I leave now? I'm going. Can I go? Like, what the fuck? And I haven't been able to leave. But then, get this. So last year, so about 12 months ago, about June last year, I was umming and ahhing about selling my car, because out here you can't keep shit clean. It's like it's the dust, it's the mud, it's the country. Okay, you can't keep stuff clean. And for a long time, I was like really working to keep it clean. And then like it just, you know, I do keep it clean, but I'd let go of being so pedantic of it. Like out here, it's taught me to let go of control. I'm not in control. God is. God took that reel, made it viral. God brought shame to me, all those things, all the stuff. And so, you know, I'd let go. And so last year I was umming and ahhing about selling it, because I was like, you know, I can't, like, I felt bad because I was just like, I just can't keep it clean out here. Like, go and wash it and then drive on the dirt road to come home, and it's gone. Anyway, I like looking after things. So it's a value of mine. So anyway, I let it go. And what I said to myself in June last year, the way I let it go was, I was like, when we move back into town, I'll bring it back to new. I'll get the whole thing resprayed, get brand new paint, like bring it back to new, because, you know, just scratches and the stone chips and mud and all the stuff. I was like, we'll bring it back to new. I'll get a brand new respray, like get it painted, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I let it go. And I also didn't sell it at that time because I didn't know what car to get to replace it. Like, do you know what I mean? I was like, well, what car am I going to get? Like, I love my car, but I was like, do I get a U? I was like, and I couldn't make a decision. So I just left it. And then a year later, the tree falls on it and it needs a whole new respray. Like, because the whole tree, like there was the tractor and then my car. And so luckily the trunk of the tree landed, and then it was just the whole, you know, imagine a whole top of the tree. So like the whole thing was covered by branches. So when you like drove it out, like it was like someone had gone over the whole car with a scourer. Like, let's just scour back the paint, shall we? What the fuck? So what did it get? A whole brand new paint job. And I'm like, a year ago I said we were moving into town and I was going to get a paint job, but just got a paint job. And the serpent did that. I'm like, okay. But I'm almost like, okay, am I losing my mind? It's a black edition, last of the Holden V8s. My black dragon wagon, I call it. Yeah. Yeah. Holden V8, last of the V8s in 2016. Yeah. Okay. Is there any other really important piece that I need to share about this? So I'm still, like I said yesterday, I was going to live stream about this, but I just blew my mind, and I'm like, okay. And I felt like, you know, for months I've been frozen about talking about anything that I do, or how do I do it, or like just all this shit. And I'm like, this is my life. This is what I do. I've always done this. I always speak like this. I always share. I always do everything. You know, it's just, you know, and so I've come back to like being myself. I'm like, you know, but that clearing, that release, but then like I've been released from the dungeons of ancient Greece. I was like, what the fuck is that? And at the same time, I was still like, what did I do? Like, what did I actually do? And then, so 2 more little pieces to this, and then I'll leave it here. And this will be a to be continued, just with, you know, my life moving forward, because I've always shared like this. And I think, yeah, it's gonna be interesting what unravels from here. So, you know, obviously processing that with Shane, and the next morning, and I was like, what did I do? Like, who cast me into the eternal damnation of hell, of where you never come back from it? Just like in the great abyss. There was a few different pieces that I read, and I can't remember all where they were now, but it was like, you know, the great abyss where no one ever comes back from, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I was, a while ago, I watched The Sandman on Netflix, and he had to go to hell. It's all about dreams. It's really interesting understanding the dream realms and all the different realms. It's very, very eye-opening. And there was a scene in that where Morpheus, interesting, they called him Morpheus in that too, just like in The Matrix. So interesting. Morpheus he was the Lord of Dreams. So basically the king of the dream realm. So when humans go to sleep, we go to the dream realm. He's the king of the dream realm. And he had been trapped by a human for 100 years, and humanity fell into disarray because the Lord of Dreams was trapped by a human who cast a spell, who didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They were trying to call the angel of death. They instead called in Lord Morpheus, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, in that time, his tools got stolen from him, his helm, his ruby, and his bag of sand, and scattered throughout the world. And so he went on a mission to find them once he got freed from that and capture, which is kind of interesting actually. And then he had, like, a demon had taken his helm down to hell, so he had to go to hell. So he went to hell, and, you know, it was very interesting seeing hell, but the gates, oh yeah, and then the gates. So because whatever I was looking at, when I was looking at, like, whatever I was researching and whatever bits that I could click on that I felt drawn to read other bits, it talked about the dog that guards the gates to hell is the Cerberus, right? Is a 3-headed dog in Greek mythology. His role is to guard the gates of Hades, to allow the dead people in but no one out. And remember, I said, and I was like, oh my fucking God, how did I forget that in that full moon ceremony, I saw the 3-headed dog down on the paddock. Like, you know, it was massive. It was so massive. It was bigger than the trees, like down there. And I saw it, and that's, you know, and I scrolled back through all my blogs. I was like, when was that? And I was like, fuck, that was like May last year. And I'm like, oh my God, how did I forget that? So that, and then these, you know, being put into, you know, go to purgatory. I was like, what did I do? So, okay. So when he went down to get his helm from hell, it was like he fought with Lucifer. Like, that was like really incredible, because, like, I don't know, just all the things. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so talking about how reclaiming his, oh yeah, so the dog, I don't know, that was a part that I was going with that there. I'll just leave it for now because I just lost it. There was 2 other pieces. Oh yeah, so when he was walking around hell, because the demon was taking him to the king of hell, right, which is Lucifer, which ended up being a woman. Also interesting. But as the demon was taking him past all the prisoners on purpose, and his raven's going, where are we going, Morpheus? Where is this demon taking us? Can we trust this demon? No, you can't. Anyway, so they showed this scene, and it was like this woman prisoner who was trapped in hell. And as he walked past the little window, she's like, Morpheus, I've missed you forever. Like, I've love you forever. Like, do you forgive me yet? Like, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, do you forgive me? And then, like, it showed him morph into, she was like one of the original African tribal women, one of the first peoples or something. And then he morphed into, obviously, her partner of the African, like the original first peoples. And, you know, and the raven's like, what was that about, Morpheus? Like, and he's like, didn't say anything, but it was like he hadn't forgiven her yet, so she couldn't be released. And in the morning I said to said to Shane, like that scene had kept coming back to me, and I was like, what is that? I was like, what did I do to you? Did you put me in the damnation of hell? I was like, what the hell? Like, I was like, what did I do? He's like, doesn't matter, it's forgiven. Like, you know, it was just like, because when I told him, he got like goosebumps, and I was like, what did I do to you? What did we do? What happened? I was like, oh my God, what happened? Like, it was so weird. And then yesterday when I was sitting down watching, like I always watch something while I eat, it's my little break sort of thing. And then like I was watching this show, I started watching the Airbenders. It's kind of a kid's show, but I'm always interested what I'm drawn to. And the Airbenders is like the earth, fire, water, what's the other one? Earth, fire, water, air. And so like the way that I'm understanding what they're explaining in there, again with like, you know, there's like the sphere, right? So we've got the dome on top, the disc, and the hell underneath, so to speak. And then what they're showing in the Airbenders, what I'm understanding is like the fire, there's like a fire tribe, but it's a world, fire, earth, air, water. And as I'm understanding what they're saying on this Airbender show, they're like just outside, because they talk about the same thing of being sent down to the pit of earth where no one ever returns from. And I'm like, oh, that's the same thing. They're like the next sphere out, if you may, which when you've seen those Taria maps, I'm not sure if you've ever studied it much, but I've seen some maps and they show like even what the Avengers talk about. I can't remember that other world, like Asgard and stuff. Like on those maps, they're just further out than our sphere, but flat, but sphere, and they're still there. And it's kind of like when we get sent down to earth into the pit where no one returns, like they're saying the same thing on another show when I just watched it. And then the part that I was up to in the show, they're talking about the two lovers who like, you know, like had to find a way to be together, and because their tribes were fighting or something, and they did, and then one of them didn't turn up, so she like set the world on fire, and then she brought peace. And I'm like, did I do that? I'm like I like filmed it and sent it to him. I'm like, is that what I did? It's like, what? For those of you who also remember years ago in Trust Intuition, I did this like land and earth healing, and it was like not I, but someone with me, like we traveled down back to Atlantis, and it was like we ripped the heart of humanity out to save it. I'm so weird. What's reality awareness? A heart. I don't know. This is a to be continued. This is like me living what I teach. This is the journey unfolding, and this is Trust Your Intuition at its best, because we're not always shown why things happen until a lot later on, and sometimes never at all. And this is where trusting your intuition and the depth of understanding your psychic abilities and what your soul is showing you about your human life and about lives that you've lived previously. This is the stuff we do in Trust Intuition. So if you want details of Trust Intuition, just comment trust below and I'll send it to you. You can find it on my page. You can send me a message. Let me know if you've got any questions about it, because I know that now Shane has turned up. Like, he is my divine counterpart, but he is a healthy relationship that I've been waiting for, that I walked away from every toxic relationship. And even when they came in and left me, they were clearing wounds so I could be ready for Shane. Like, of course, we're conscious of stuff coming up and working through some of the stuff we've worked through already. And it's like yesterday, like we've never yelled at each other. Like, by this point in time of being with someone, there's so many cracks, there's so many red flags, there's so many things, and there's just like tiny little cords of connection. Whereas Shane and I are just like this full connection of aura, of body, of soul, of the entire thing. That this is the love that you attract. This is the purpose-driven love that you not only attract, but live on purpose with your destiny from trusting your intuition. This is the soul purpose. This is your life purpose. Now, not everyone's ready for this. Not everyone will live their unique life purpose in this lifetime. But if you want to heal, shift, awaken your consciousness, become super psychic, and understand how your intuition and gift and psychic abilities is communicating to you, because everyone is different. And I even witnessed that, and I've always known that, but I was like, when I saw and heard the trees talk, and Shane saw it in his way that he receives his intuition, I was like, this is exactly what I've always talked about, that you can be with the soul aligned purpose and do your purpose work together. Every other person that I've ever been with was not fully aligned, and they were not here to do the purpose work. Not everyone is, but some people are ready for this. And if this is what you're ready for, if you're on purpose, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're driven, if you know that you're here to have a huge impact and leave your legacy in the world, trust intuition is definitely for you. So this will be continued. I've been saying for a while that I'll be coming out, sharing more. Here I am. Hannah's back from the dungeons of hell with so much to share and understanding our world that we live in, that is reality awareness. Thank you so much for listening. I know it's been long, but it needed to be shared. Needed to be shared. Welcome. Welcome to my world. Welcome to reality awareness. Okay. Awesome. Okay. All right. Yeah, when trees break, it's so interesting. So when branches snap, you know, when you hear a tree branch snap, because it's quite rare to hear a tree branch snap, you know, when you hear it snap and fall, you know, that saying is like, if it snapped and fell in the forest and no one heard it, did it really happen? So when you hear that, it's really like, it's done, cycle's complete, time to leave, it's finished, time to move on. When the whole tree falls, next one, like next level, right? Yeah. Yes. And this is the thing, this is why everything happens. So that was just saying, amazing how this is all played out, and you have enlightened me every day more and more, and all the connections have just been beyond explanation. Like, this is my gift of teaching you how to connect all the pieces, figure out the puzzle, like with your heightened intuition, whether you're, you know, wanting to heal, whether you're wanting to expand your business, whether you're wanting to call in that divine aligned soulmate, purpose-driven lover. It's like, this is the epitome. Like, you have to understand the intricate nature of your intuition to do that. And this is my gift. This is what I do. This is what I teach and trust intuition. You're so very welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna love you and leave you. I'll see you soon.